Tell me what downgrading of humans means.
Well, so the point is this is an issue that's bigger than screen time. It's not about addiction. You know, people are seeing these things as disconnected. Outragification of our politics,
Yes.
teen addiction to mental health issues, social isolation. But these are all connected because they're all part of the business model of extracting human attention, the race to the bottom of the brainstem. And that systematically leads to this connected system of downgrading humans. While we're upgrading the machines, we're downgrading humans.
Talk about changing times, even as some American communities are bucking the trend toward stores that don't take cash. Mark Phillips tells us there's already a country that hardly uses it at all.
A better way that begins here, with ABBA, like so many things in Sweden. A hologram version of the band is one of the main attractions at their museum in Stockholm that has become a major tourist draw. The entrance fee is 250 Swedish crowns, or about 25 bucks. But don't try paying with cash. The museum was one of the first places in Sweden to go entirely cash-free. It was the idea of band member and museum planner Bjorn Ulvaeus.
Very nostalgic, even cassettes.
And ABBA Corp CEO Matthias Tengblad says it's all part of keeping the brand current.
Right.
He really believed that cash is a sort of cause of very much evil on the planet, and he wanted to make this like a new modern place.
In a small, high-tech country like Sweden, where ABBA leads, people follow. They've been setting the cultural beat for 45 years. Why not the financial? From one great Swedish cultural institution to another.
At the Vatican, the Catholic Church has brought together scientists and ethicists to discuss these issues. And Pope Francis has written a letter, The Human Community, which emphasizes the urgent need to study the relationship between humans and emerging technology. Professor Ishiguro says his vision of one day abandoning our current human form is several thousand years away. Still, many here have doubts about this brave new world.
This dream is a terrible dream. It is impossible to unify algorithms and love, algorithms and artists, algorithm and a little part of crazy is part of us. I prefer our limits to our really cold perfection.
We're upgrading the machines, we're downgrading humans, downgrading our attention spans, downgrading our mental health, downgrading our democracy and our civility, because the business model says that outrage works better.
Because outrage works on that part of the brain where you release all the norms and social filters and all that. It's really your animal brain.
Exactly. So first we go into your animal brain to get your attention, but then to go deeper, we have to get hundreds of millions of people addicted to getting attention from other people. So this is how you get the teen issues with mental health, where you have teenage girls who are addicted to getting attention from other people, the number of likes they have, and it's I think 2.5 times self-harm and depression issues for teen girls between 10 to 14 years old.
But as a former Google person, don't the companies know they're doing that? The tech companies know they're doing that, Tristan.
I think that they don't like to admit that the business model of our stock price is directly anchored to how many minutes from your mind that I can get from you.
Facebook co-founder Chris Hughes says the company should be broken up immediately. In a New York Times opinion piece out today, Hughes says CEO Mark Zuckerberg has unchecked powers and more influence than the government itself.
What's wrong with Facebook?
Well, the Facebook that exists today is not the Facebook that we founded in 2004. And the one that we have today, I think, is far too big, it's far too powerful, and most importantly, its CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, is not accountable.
Chris Hughes was Mark Zuckerberg's roommate at Harvard.
Zuckerberg's focus on growth led him to sacrifice security and civility for clicks. He calls Zuckerberg's power unprecedented and un-American.
Are you saying now that you have regrets?
I am disappointed in myself that in the early days, I didn't, and we didn't think enough about how Newsfeed, for instance, could empower nationalist leaders.
In a scathing op-ed in the New York Times, Hughes calls Facebook's dominance a monopoly. More than 6 billion monthly active users across all Facebook properties, dwarfing the competition.
This year, Newport released the book Digital Minimalism. He says for more than a decade, we've been techno-maximalists, seeking out any app or service that provides us a benefit, no matter the cost.
If we go back, let's say, to the iPhone.
iPhone is like having your life in your pocket.
The original idea there was twofold. One, to integrate an iPod into a phone, so you didn't have to carry around two devices, and two, to make both of those experiences better. Steve Jobs was not thinking about a future in which we would constantly be looking down. That actually came later, and for purposes that didn't necessarily have our best interest in mind. The social media companies in particular innovated. What they thought about is, how do we get people to compulsively look at the screen?
Newport says the online experience was re-engineered to exploit the psychological behavior known as intermittent reinforcement, a technique popularized by casinos.
If you're getting social approval indicators sometimes, and then sometimes you hit on this app and they're not there, there's no new likes, your brain says we have to keep checking. There could be more next time. And this is exactly the effect you get pulling a slot machine lever.
And I'm doing this not because I want attention or selling a book or anything like that. This is because it's an urgent existential issue. If we don't tackle these issues, we're going to destroy our common ground. We can't agree on facts. If we can't agree on facts, you can't do anything.
And the loss of civility,
Yes.
downgrading, as you say, of humans, it ultimately affects our democracy.
The words, the race to the bottom of the brainstem is sort of chilling, Tristan.
Yeah.
They're constantly monitored by facial recognition cameras that are able to instantly put a face to a name. Now, the Chinese are also ranked, given a mark out of a possible 950 points. A score in the 700s is considered good. Around the 500 mark is not. For now, the number is a sort of bank credit rating, keeping track of everyone's spending habits. But in an effort to keep all of its subjects in line, Beijing is taking the system a step further in 2020. It's aggregating data gathered by banks, private companies, and the state to rate if someone's a good or bad citizen. The state will go over every detail of a person's life with a fine-tooth comb: their financial situation, spending habits, career, even behavior on social media. Criticizing the government online or displaying outward signs of wealth is a no-no. On the other hand, praising the party or giving blood increases your social credit. Xiaowen Wang is a model citizen. She lives in Nanjing, a testing ground for social ranking. In theory, everything can be taken into account in the social score, even the most innocuous errands like supermarket shopping. When Xiaowen Wang makes an electronic payment, her purchases tell the state a lot about her. For Xiaowen Wang, there are perks to be had, such as paying half price for the bus.
At this IKEA store, almost all their customers were paying with cards anyway, so they made it official. No cash taken. Even, says customer services manager Patrick Burstein, for the mandatory snack.
What's good? The meatballs? The meatballs are great, yes, of course.
Bingo, just like that. Excellent. Does not having cash around the place just get rid of an entire problem of not having to worry about the security that cash requires. But now ABBA is in the vanguard of a new wave in Sweden where there's no money, money, money. Just cards, 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 and phones, phones, phones.
A good score brings benefits, but people with low scores lose rights. The cinema names and shames people considered untrustworthy, plastering their details, even their addresses, across big screens.
It's a matter of principle. Those people have to be condemned.
Those people aren't honest, so they have to pay the price.
It's only right to pay your debts. You have to blacklist those that don't.
The Supreme Court has created a blacklist for so-called bad citizens, those whose ratings have dropped to 0. On it are companies, but also 23 million people to date. Among them is this journalist Liu Hu. He got a little too close to uncovering corruption among high-profile party members. After being sued for defamation by the subject of a story he'd written, he was blacklisted. He only realized when he tried to buy a train ticket and was told he was banned from traveling.
That tells me I'm still on the blacklist.
Punished because he's been branded untrustworthy by the state. Liu Hu is among a tiny minority of people who have dared to criticize the system, which some are calling a digital dictatorship.
I worry because I think many people like me will be deprived of individual freedoms, and all of us will live with restrictions of one kind or another.